You're talking about, a guy like Mamdani who's running for mayor of arguably the financial capital of the world. It's a scary proposition to think that here's a 32-year-old who's never actually accomplished anything. Forget about the political ideology for a second, right? Here's a guy that's accomplished absolutely nothing. He's never proposed a bill in his life. And this dude is going to be responsible for like 8 million plus in a city. That's a scary proposition.
Welcome to the Eighth Gear Podcast. Today's podcast will be a bit different. We're going to touch on politics, but we're touched on it because it relates to business, small business, and growth. I'm your host, Cebron Walker, and our co-host,
Joe Faraci.
We're discussing today something that's a pretty hot topic, especially up in New York City. Joe, what's going on?
Oh, man. Okay. Zohran Mamdani. It's been a hot topic, and they had the mayoral debates on Wednesday. Some scary stuff, like not to get all political here, but what's going to happen in New York City is going to have a trickle effect in other states. No question.
New York City is a major influencer across. I mean, you have governors now backing different people on this race.
You're talking about a guy like Mamdani who's running for mayor of arguably the financial capital of the world. And it's a scary proposition to think that here's a 32-year-old who's never actually accomplished anything. Forget about the political ideology for a second, right? Here's a guy that's accomplished absolutely nothing. He's never proposed a bill in his life. And this dude is going to be responsible for like 8 million plus in a city. That's a scary proposition.
Now, how does he get backed? I mean, how does a 32-year-old, like, what's going on here? I have, unfortunately, I am not tracking with this race, but Joe is into it, and it's an issue.
I'm tracking because I think ultimately,
I was actually I was going to pull up this thing because it is blowing up. It's all over social media.
Oh, it is. It is. The funny thing is that this election is not only being followed in New York City and the rest of the U.S., but it's actually being followed globally. Everyone's curious. All right, in which direction are we going? I don't think there's ever been quite an election like this before. I mean, it's big. It's big, and I think what's leading the votes in Mamdani's direction is the youth of today.
Yeah, I think that's what I was wondering too. Is it this sort of Gen Z, Gen Alpha group? I guess Gen Alpha probably a little bit too young, but they want this money. They want handouts. They want an easier life. You have statistics like 85% of the U.S. population are unhappy at work. 13% of the U.S. population want the hell out of their job. They hate their job.
Well, here's the thing, right? So, because you're touching on a really good point, happiness. And is happiness going to come from a socialist ideology? Man, I'm going to argue that it doesn't. I think that happiness comes from producing. And when you take a look at the young people of today who are advocating for a guy like Mamdani, because they're hearing free public transportation, government-run grocery stores, freeze rent. You're talking about the youth of today that still haven't even established like a world view. They're really starting to or attempting to piece their own lives together, let alone trying to understand an economic ideology. Right. So it sounds great. It sounds great in theory, but where has this actually worked? That's the problem. And I would argue that
it hasn't worked anywhere.
it hasn't worked anywhere. And I would argue that, what really leads to happiness is being productive.
100%.
And you're not going to get productivity in a socialist environment. I don't care. I'll take that to my grave.
Ask anybody that's become an entrepreneur that worked in a 9-to-5 job and worked corporate, government, whatever they were doing, and they're like, I want the hell out of this job. And they went and they, in the weekends, in the evenings, started creating something that they had a passion for. that they foreseeably could make some money at, and then they just dump the job. And the percentage of happy people that are doing something that they actually have a passion for, that they can also make money at and provide a service to the world, whatever that world group is for them, that's happiness.
No, again, I totally agree. And consuming is going to bring this like temporary false sense of happiness. But when you're producing, that is the ultimate permanent fulfillment. Right.
So what is Zohran?
And socialism? So he's a socialist.
So what's he saying?
This is how crazy and bizarre this is to me, and I can't wrap my head around a guy that says we need to ultimately seize the means of production. We need to ultimately seize the means of production. That's like 100% government intervention, government regulation. Let's ask ourselves this question, okay? The greatest inventions ever to have happened, did they happen in communist or, socialist countries? Absolutely not. They happened in the U.S. If we had the socialist economic ideology, do you think a guy like Jeff Bezos or Warren Buffett, Steve Jobs, or Elon Musk, do you think those kind of guys would have ever thrived in that system? Would we have what we have today?
No.
Would we have the invention of the iPhone? Crying out loud, would we have the invention of the light bulb, Thomas Edison? Like, all our greatest inventions came from capitalism. Why? Because in the capitalist system, you're rewarded and you're not suppressed. If we push.
Yeah, well, you have Tesla, electric cars,
100%.
Self-driving cars, AI, the internet.
That certainly never
all
came
of that came from the United States.
It never came from North Korea.
Yeah.
Never came from Cuba. Never came from Venezuela. So why do you want to thwart the creativity and like the visionaries? So what this man wants to do is he wants to thwart the visionaries and have bureaucrats dictate and decide how the economy is
what's best for the people.
Yeah, that's insane.
And you have these voters,
Come on, man, that's crazy.
You have these young voters that are now over 18, so they can vote, and they don't have a worldview yet. And it's not that these are not unbright people. These kids are bright. These kids are awesome.
Yeah.
But they do get influenced by, unfortunately, what's on these phones, and they're going to make decisions based on this much information.
Yeah.
And so they're going to be sold. I mean, who hasn't been sold down the river and just ate it, right? And they're going to be sold this idea. 10 years from now, they'll be fucked.
Let's take a look at a kid. How much fulfillment do you see when a kid comes to you with their creative like drawing or whatever like creative thing they've put together? Man, I know my own kids were like, "Dad, look at this." Mm-hmm. Such a sense of fulfillment, right? More so than when I give them stuff or when they've earned their first $1 to be able to go out there and buy a video game, candy,
on their
whatever,
own. On their own, yeah.
Like there's actual science, the neuroscience backs it up and shows that when you're producing, it releases dopamine. Like there's evidence of that. I don't know of anyone I've ever met in my life where if they were given something handed to them that they felt this ultimate happiness and sense of accomplishment. Man, that shit doesn't exist.
Not at all.
And it's crazy to think, again, here's this 32-year-old who's going to be ultimately responsible for New York City, the financial hub, the financial
he's a Gen
capital
Z himself.
The financial
he
capital
literally doesn't
of
have
the
an
world.
education. Like he doesn't have a worldview.
He doesn't, but
Who
again,
is
it
this
all sounds awesome in theory, right? Here's the thing. This is what we should be teaching our kids.
Did he just take it out of a playbook? Did someone just hand him a socialism playbook?
So his father is a professor at Columbia, who preaches Marxism. So I mean, the apple doesn't fall, too far, right? So obviously he's been shaped and molded, but yet, I mean, he was born with the man who's preaching equality was born into privilege and actually has no idea what suffering is truly like. So he's a dual citizen. He's a citizen of Uganda, but yet he wants to be mayor of the financial hub of the world. I mean, come on, it's insanity.
So I just literally just went on YouTube and watched a short video about him. All he did in the entire video was bring up all of these crimes, bad things about Cuomo.
Yeah.
Cuomo did this. He patted a girl on the butt. He, kissed the wrong girl. He made a bunch of money from some train thing, the metro.
But it's a decision of like the devil that you know and the devil that you don't know. Man, I would hope that there would be more candidates.
Well, I think you have to look at one thing too. Okay, no one's perfect. We're all humans.
For sure.
For all these critical people that are going, oh, he is such a demon. Cuomo's awful. I'm sorry. Look at yourself. Are you perfect? Like, anybody looking at this stuff and going, oh, yeah, he's a terrible person. Okay, we all have sins, right? We're all human. So I'm not justifying, but I mean, it's like, let's be realistic and let's look at the things that matter. Because the things that matter is like, were we more profitable? Did the state have more revenue? Was there more businesses built during that time? Those are the things that are going to show economic value, which probably is the biggest thing we need to like have our attention on with a politician is like, are they going to bring growth to our city or our state? Like, let's get real about what we want to accomplish with someone we put in office.
Well, and I watched the debates, and I mean, I'll say this about most of the candidates. It was Silva, it was Cuomo, it was Mamdani. I mean, I hate to say this, but in all fairness, it's typical of politicians to begin with. They're equally criticizing each other as opposed to focusing on what their credentials are
100%.
and what they have the ability to do, and any proof that they can bring to the table that they've accomplished such stuff. It's very easy for any fool to criticize.
I mean,
That's the easiest thing to do.
Even look at go back to the presidential debate between Kamala and Trump. I mean, it was, if you wanted to just watch it for face value, if you had no information, Trump looked like an asshole. Because there was just so many outnesses in his personality or behavior. But then you have to step back from that and go like, what is his production versus has Kamala actually done anything? And the country answered the question 100%.
Yeah.
Didn't actually matter at all, right? Because we're talking about what have you produced? So I don't know Cuomo. I don't know Cuomo stats myself.
I wish we would move away from, like, it feels like, American Idol, right? Where whether you're running for mayor of New York City or president of the United States, has become a popularity competition.
It literally is.
And I almost feel like the prerequisite to voting should be that you're educated on policies. Listen, I don't care if you vote Republican or if you vote Democrat, just be able to answer and tell us what policies you like and what policies you don't like on both sides of the equation, right? Mm-hmm. And not just make it a popularity competition. At the end of the day, I don't need a moral leader. I just need someone who knows what they're doing, because at the end of the day, running the United States or running a city like New York is like running a company. It's a 100%. Business.
100%.
That's it, period. At the end of the day, it is a business.
I heard one of the stupidest things in the world is having dinner at a restaurant in California. And weirdly, Governor Newsom and his wife and kids were having dinner at the table beside us. Crazy, moment of time. And so we're just having dinner. And so I go out to take a phone call on my phone. Governor Newsom walks out and takes a phone call on his phone. So we're literally standing 10 feet apart, having our different phone calls. He had security around him. I did not. And these women were at the outside bar, like 15 feet from us. I could hear them. And they were like, oh my God, that's the governor. Oh my God. He's so good looking. He should be the president of the United States.
Isn't that crazy?
I was like, you women are idiots. You literally are saying you'd vote for him. You have no information about this guy. He has trashed California. And because he is good to look at.
I'm telling you, it's a popularity competition. Yeah. They don't look at the homelessness. It's just, look, at the end of the day, this is what we should be teaching the next generation that is voting. This is where I believe capitalism thrives, right? Because it rewards those that understand what it takes to be persistent. I try and teach my kids this. I educate people when we're running like financial educational workshops. And I encourage people, if you want a starting point for the next 30 days, become obsessed with financial literacy.
Mm-hmm.
Just do that for a 30-day period. Okay?
Follow the number one thing that everybody has to pay attention to is follow the money and look at the numbers. If the statistics are going up on revenue, on beating the bottom line, that is the person to vote for. There's just no other way. Otherwise, it's just stupid process. You have to go, how are the statistics? Did he get them up? Did he make more money for the state? That's what we all want.
Yeah, that's what we all want. And I think, unfortunately, what's missing in our school systems that really should be pushed, and this is what I'm doing, educating people, is don't be afraid of failure. If you take a look at, as we talked about, the greatest inventors or the people that have successful business, like on the surface, all you're seeing is the success, but you have no idea the amount of times that whatever they were trying to implement didn't work, and they failed over and over and over again. This is what I'm teaching my kids. This is what I'm trying to teach people that are coming to our financial workshops, people that are investing with us in projects that we're undertaking, is you either win or you learn. No such thing as failure in the sense that, like, that's it, I've got to quit. That actually is the true definition of like failure. If you decide that you're going to quit at something, then you failed. And like, where did we go wrong? We're teaching our own children to get back up from having fallen off their bike or whatever and keep going. And you either win or you learn. And here's what I would argue: just like tuition is the price to be paid in school, success has a price, right? And part of that price is failure. So I'm trying to teach my own kids, like, listen, not everything you do is going to work out first time, but every time it doesn't work, there's a lesson to be learned. Every inventor will tell you the same thing. Any visionary will tell you the same thing. They didn't do something first time around and all of a sudden, boom, it became, the most successful, action. That's just not how it works. So where did we move away from the capitalistic idea of teaching people that as long as you keep getting back on the horse, as long as you keep learning from your mistakes, you're going to be rewarded at some point. There's such fulfillment even in that journey.
Yeah. And why aren't kids learning financial literacy in school? I mean, from elementary school through high school, like I don't remember any financial literacy class for, at least in my generation. I had to learn it by chance in my 20s, just because I was like, how do I deal with credit cards? How do I deal with these things? How do I get a mortgage?
Yeah. And we're seeing right now such a divisiveness in the country, with those that are for capitalism and then those that are for, socialism, borderline communism. Like, again, here's a guy that said we need to seize the means of production. Like, what are you talking about? Let the free markets dictate. Competition is good. If you can't afford, that Coke, or if you can't afford that rent, look, the market is going to dictate whether that's affordable or not. Let the people, not government. And let's teach the next generation that it's okay. It's okay that if you didn't win in that moment, you learned and you keep going and you keep being persistent. So here you have this character, Zohran Mamdani. If every state was run the way Mamdani is proposing, I mean, you'd have no Amazon. You'd have no Tesla. You have no Apple. The thing is, creating, feeling a sense of like purpose and happiness and ultimate freedom comes from production, comes from creating. And this guy, Zohran Mamdani, wants to thwart and block that. Like, we live in America. What gives us freedom is that private ownership. the enjoyment and satisfaction of creation and ingenuity. Again, if we had a guy like Mamdani running a city like New York, man, we're going to thwart everything that makes this country successful, viable. And look, there's a reason why people want to come to America. They want that freedom.
Yeah.
They want to be able to produce. They want to know that they can enjoy their creation and it's theirs and it won't be taken away. And this guy, Mamdani, for as much as he preaches free this and free that, the man is literally taking away your creative genius. Because what reason do you have to produce? And the minute you take someone's creative genius away from them, you've killed their freedom.
100%. Great point.
It's for rent-stabilized apartments, to city-owned grocery stores, and free universal child care. Ideas that will cost money.
We've put forward a plan that we would raise $10 billion in additional revenue, $9 billion from two major taxes. The first, matching the state's top corporate tax rate to that of New Jersey, 11.5%. That raises about $5 billion. And the second is increasing personal income taxes.
Okay. So here's the thing that gets me with that, right? He talks about free. Where are you getting the money to do this? It's not free. Ultimately, what you want to do, and this is so backwards in thinking, because a guy like Mamdani, what he's not sharing with the public is, well, it's got to come from the people that actually produced. The people that typically are being rewarded for productivity, let's punish them so we can create equality.
Because they're the ones paying the majority of the taxes.
And here's the craziness, right? You can create equal opportunity, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to create equal outcome. That's just not going to happen.
Because everybody's not the same.
Everyone's not the same. And instead of thinking of, like, I've been asked the question, okay, Joe, you're so opposed to this guy, Zohran Mamdani. What would you propose? Listen, I'm not saying in a few minute segment here, I can tell you all the policies that we need to implement, but I do know this. You do not punish, you reward the people that are producing and that are productive members of society. And the people that are not, I'm totally fine with some of these social programs to help them get off their feet, but let's put programs in place to teach people that when they're creating and they're producing, they're going to get such a sense of fulfillment and freedom. That's where it's going to come from. Not for me to hand it to you for free. No. Because all I'm doing is completely suppressing
I think
you
of that movie,
as an individual.
That Will Smith movie where he's in San Francisco. I forget what the name of that one is, where he's on the streets and he works his guts out to get a job with a Wall Street.
I know what you're talking about.
But talk about rewarding production. He had no education, nothing really to prove on his resume that he could do the job, but he just worked his guts out, and this company brought him. And it's a true story. And now the guy's like,
and there's countless of stories of people that were, sort of went homeless, right? Or were living on the streets, or were down to their last dime. Look at a guy like Sylvester Stallone. He has come out and said many times, he was down to his last few dollars. He had to give his dog away. But you talk about persistency. Like, would a guy like that, who one can argue is like the ultimate success story in Hollywood, right? What incentive would he have ever had to get out of that? He would have never had that true sense of fulfillment and freedom. It's an intangible. You can't measure what that is. But I bet you that if we were sitting down with Stallone, he would be like, man, Mamdani, that is not the way. I wouldn't be who I am, and I wouldn't give up anything, and I wouldn't change anything. He learned who he is through that journey.
No, I went and heard a talk with Sylvester Stallone live. And he picked his path. He's like, I want to do what I'm passionate about. And if I pull it off, I can make money at this. And he went to the theater every single day, literally learning how scripts were written and how shots were shot just by watching movies in the theater over and over and over again and wrote that Rocky script. And like he was going to make it happen.
Yeah. And how do you bring out the genius, right? The goal here, the objective here should be, how do we bring out everyone's genius and brilliance? Because we all have that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, Zohran Mamdani's way, that is not, that actually has the opposite effect. It will suppress people. It will suppress individuals. They will have no incentive. When you have no incentive, when you're not producing and you're given everything,
you end up like Berkeley in California.
The opposite happens. You actually start to spiral where you do harmful things.
Mm-hmm.
You do harmful things because there's no sense of like fulfillment or purpose.
I would say that there's a socialist agenda that has been slowly creating this campaign to make the Gen Z generation see it over and over and over again, that that's a good idea, that that's a good solution. This thing that how do I say his name?
Mamdani, yeah.
This thing that Mamdani is saying, that's the way. And it equates to what they've been told over and over again because of what they're seeing on social media. And that's their entire worldview. So they're seeing this guy's saying the same thing that I've been being, like, I hate to say it, brainwashed into seeing as a good pattern, because I'll be happy, because I'll have my apartment, I'll have enough food, I'll have this. None of it's talked about being in charge of your own production, being in charge of your own value to society.
Yeah, where are we teaching that? I've yet, like, there is no perfect economic system or country, right? But I will take our economic system over any other countries any time of day, because at least here you get rewarded.
Mm-hmm.
And the ultimate reward leads to freedom.
And where does everybody want to come?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why we're teaching people, we're not just teaching people to invest. We're teaching them how to become producers.
I mean, this program you're doing where you just were doing talks in Mexico.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, what are all those businessmen in Mexico trying to accomplish?
Freedom.
They're trying to get
sense of fulfillment.
They're trying to get into the U.S.
100%. They want to be rewarded. They ultimately want purpose. If you take a look at any individual that's been suppressed of all those things, take a look at their demeanor, the look on their face. It's almost like their soul's been like ripped out of their body.
Mm-hmm.
They're like zombie looking. There is nothing to live for. Is that the kind of equality that we really want? Like, that's the question that I would ask Zohran Mamdani. Is that really, you think happiness is going to come from that when you're taking away? Hell no.
100%. So you're just talking about, with this concern with Mamdani, is just about the money, just about everybody needs to be able to make more money themselves?
Here's the thing. So let's take a look at the most successful cycles of action by anyone who's ultimately made it in business. Whether you like the guy or not, a guy like Donald Trump, right? Why is he doing what he's doing? The guy was already a billionaire. Why is Elon Musk doing what he's doing? Why is Jeff Bezos? Why is Warren Buffett? Ultimately, happiness is not going to come, and it's not going to be measured from a financial means, okay? So whether I'm worth 5 million or 100 million or a billion, like, I've created a real estate fund, and the objective is for us to reach $1 billion at minimum of assets under management. Is it really going to ultimately change my life, whether I have $50 million or $500 million? It's not. The monetary part of it, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. People are like, money doesn't bring you happiness. Man, it sure as hell helps.
To a certain point.
Like, to a certain you can't tell me, look, when I go on vacation, all I'm seeing is smiles on people's faces, man.
But I'll tell you,
you can't tell me that it doesn't help. It does. However, I'm going to tell you this. It'll only get you so far. You are who you are, and you become more of it. It becomes more pronounced the more you have. So if you're a giver, you're going to be more of a giver. If you're an asshole, you're probably going to be more of an asshole.
Well, I'll tell you, that's exactly interesting point, because I've listened to a lot of podcasts about people. I'm like, well, how did they make it happen? You look at Apple and Steve Jobs. You look at Elon Musk, and the people that were very close with these people, with Steve Jobs before he died and Elon Musk currently, they are pretty much total assholes. Steve Jobs was a total asshole.
But ask them how much they give a shit about the money.
But they didn't. The money had nothing to do with it. Steve Jobs was going to change the world with the iPhone and with the technology. It was great. And his only little sliver he ever had of happiness, because he was like solid 24/7, and to the point of being so neurotic that he died at, in his 50s from cancer, because he had no happiness in his life except for this one little sliver of when he was accomplishing his goal. Elon Musk he wants to get to Mars. Like, all the billions he has, he could give a shit. He doesn't get to use that for any fun.
No, 100%.
He is 20 hours a day. He's so riveted on working on that target. He's not having any fun.
But so that's the point that I want to make, though, which is everyone misconstrues those that are like, anti-capitalism. They look at the dollars behind it and they think greed. No, what capitalism allows you to do is achieve the ultimate sense of purpose and creation. And that's what we want.
Yeah,
that's what human beings want. We want purpose.
We need people like Elon Musk and Steve Jobs, because, while he might be an asshole, how many thousands and thousands of jobs did they generate, and incredible evolution of society through what they're creating?
Yeah.
That one individual, he's never going to be happy. He'll leave this life unhappy, but look what he brought to the world.
Yeah. My wife asked me this question. So like, when's enough? And I actually looked at her and I was a little bit confused and I wasn't sure what she meant by that. And I said, well, what does that mean? What do you mean? When is enough? Well, when are you going to like retire? And like, when would you be happy? And I go, well, I am happy. It's not measured by dollars, but I have this higher sense of purpose in what I'm creating. So I want to create and have a higher purpose. And the reality is that I feel I can be so much more impactful if I'm a billionaire as opposed to a millionaire. Is it going to change my life? It's not going to change my life, but it's going to give me a higher sense of purpose and fulfillment, because I know ultimately what I can do, the effects and the impact I can have. And one of my mandates is I want people to become more financially literate and want to do the exact opposite of what a guy like Zohran Mamdani is looking to do, which is I want to help people understand that the opportunity is equal. Now, how do you fulfill on that? How do you achieve a higher sense of purpose? You got to go through the grind.
Mm-hmm.
You got to
equal opportunity, not just equal for everybody.
Yes,
everything.
100%. And that, again, I'm going to reiterate this: if you're not winning, you're learning, and you keep grinding. And man, to finally achieve and make it is the ultimate. There's no measurement financially. And there's no comparison between being handed something and then achieving that on your own. And I mean, and that's it. That's the ideology I believe in, man.
Totally. Well, if you are a New Yorker listening to this show, you better get educated about Mamdani. And
if you're listening around the globe,
yeah,
really
understand
what's happening.
Call your
here.
relatives that are in New York City.
Man, look at
really
London. By the way, look at London. And if you think that what this guy Zohran Mamdani is preaching and promoting, take a look at a city like London. That right there will tell you
we've lost London.
What New York will potentially look like. It's shameful.
Well, London and New York, sort of like similar cities.
Yeah.
They are sort of the center of the universe financially.
So let me conclude by saying this. When you own, when you create, when you produce, not only are you building wealth, but you are establishing purpose. You are establishing confidence, and you're establishing the ultimate freedom. That's what happens. That's the ideology we should be living by.
Well, thanks for everybody either watching or listening. That's the 8th Gear podcast for today. I know we got a little bit political, but as it relates to business, entrepreneurship, and productivity, because that's what we believe pushes everything forward. Please do like the show, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get our future shows. See you next time.